surprised by their approach to this game in terms of running, passing?
I don't know that was their approach. I think what happened is when our offense was able to score and stay on the field and move the ball, I think you have to start thinking on the other side, well, how much do we just hammer the ball? And the second thing is, maybe a couple of low runs that had a little electricity to them and never got the running game going. Had that, those two things not happened, they would still run the football.
Ellis, I'm sorry.
Right.
Satisfying after what happened in Auburn, and I guess Ingram last year too, to do this again?
Well, more so maybe from last year, because we had the same approach coming in. We felt like last year if we could manage the run, that we could handle the rest of it. And we did not do that. We let about 3 runs pop out and had a short yardage run, bust 50 yards, and we kept them off the board, but we didn't do what we said we were going to do. Came into this game and we did manage to run. I think we basically stopped the run, which I did not expect to do. But we were able to get that done. And then the only 2 things that disappointed me was we had a busted coverage in the third quarter that gave up a cheapie, and there were a couple of times in the first half that we didn't keep him bottled up and allowed him to buy time back there and threw some scramble routes. And that's where really most of the passing yardage came from. I thought they executed a good screen pass one time. They had a couple other good pass plays, but anytime you play a team that good, you're always worried. But it was never a point in which when we were managing the running game, we felt like we didn't have control of it.
If you had watched somebody stop their run the way y'all did today, what would you think? Would you thought it was possible?
I don't know. I'm a little bit different than most people. And I said some things before the game I'm not going to share with y'all, but I told our players, and I think a lot of people are into perception. We get all hyped up about things, and we beat Kentucky last year. They didn't end up winning. They were number 1, but they didn't end up number 1, okay? We beat the number 1 team in the polls today, but we don't know they're number 1. The season isn't over. Perception and reality. What's the perception and what's the reality? And what happens when you come into games and you put somebody up on a pedestal like that and you think you got to play out of your skin to beat them, you start doing things that, you make mistakes and stuff. If you don't, you realize you got to play them the same way you play everybody else, and you don't do things wrong and you play up to your ability, you find out whether you've recruited good enough and line up and play. I just think sometimes there's a whole lot of difference in perception and reality. And the polls in America are perception. Let's face it, everybody votes. The reality is who's number 1 in a year. We'll find out. We'll see. I'll bet you they'll be right back up there in the middle of it.
What did you think about coverage? It looked like several times he had a bunch of time but had nobody through it.
Well, that's the other thing. We had the things that were disappointing was a couple times when we messed something up and gave up a big play. But I'll tell you now, we had some great coverage downfield several times. And, he stood back there like he was eating a sandwich and couldn't find anything. So, we did a good job in trying to, play coverage. I thought the 2 things we gave up were some scramble routes, and then we had to bust in the third quarter.
From an opposing point of view, what Stephen Garcia did today, how impressive was that against that defense?
Yeah, I'm really happy for him. And, of course, you got to look at those guys made those catches, too. A lot of those balls were very defendable, but those 3 catches that Alshon made were unbelievable. And then, I think that, obviously I thought the coach did a great job of moving things around and getting people open. But I'm happy for Stephen because, he's had some tough times and had a lot on his shoulders, and he played great tonight and deserves all the credit in the world he can get.
Coach Spurrier said you told him to go for it on 4th and an inch. Is he kidding?
Yeah, well, I thought that was a no-brainer. I know where the ball was on the field, but 4th and that much, if you can't make that, you don't deserve to win. And I think we felt like we would get it. I thought we got a bad spot on it before they caused it.
I know you always want to watch film, but there's a number of guys stuck out in your mind during the course?
Not really. I think you saw some big plays. Melvin Ingram and a couple of those guys jumped up there near the end when pinned their ears back and got to the quarterback. And frankly now, we've gotten to the quarterbacks when we knew they had to throw, just like Georgia. And but now we've got to get some pressure on the quarterback with 4 people earlier in the game. And but Melvin surely showed up, and I thought our defensive end showed up on that. Late Devin and Cliff. DJ Swearingen played very well. Again, I don't know grading out wise, but he had a lot of things he had to do. We tried to move him to free safety this week, as y'all know. He's also playing the dime linebacker in the long yardage scheme. We get in the second quarter. Holloman has a back strain or something, a rib strain. DJ has to move back to boundary safety, which we didn't practice him much of this week. And he did a great job tonight. And we've got a problem back there in the fact that we don't have good quality 2-deep depth right now. We're making people double learn everything, and next thing you know, it seems like every game we get in, we get a kid in our perimeter hurt or concussion or something would take him out of the lineup. And next thing you know, we're moving around everything on our pass situation package. But DJ did a good job.
7 sacks.
Yeah.
How does that sound to you right now?
Well, it's a great stat, but I think you got to put that in the context of the game. Go back, I think probably 2 of them when the game was on the line. You know, I think the rest of it. And I'm not taking anything away from the kids that got them. I'm just saying I don't know that was a key stat in the game. I think the fact they couldn't run the ball was the key stat in the game. Period. Go back and see it. They run the ball on everybody.
The fact that Ingram and Richardson had 64 combined yards, I mean, that has to absolutely be the best case scenario for you going into this game because of what the game plan was.
Well, it was, but again, the offense contributed to that, and the score of the game. You know, and finally right now we're playing around here where the 3 phases of the game are merging. But you know, when you're on the other side calling plays, and our offense is moving that ball, and you're not effectively stopping them, it affects your play calling. I don't care who you got in your backfield. So you know, that is as much a factor in that rushing game. But I certainly am proud of our front and in the way our perimeter, you know, bundled him up and didn't let him break out the back door or bounce out on a run or crease us up the middle. I mean, that guy's had some explosive runs, and Richardson is a bull. And you know, to have accomplished that, it certainly is encouraging.
After the way they scored their touchdown last year in Tuscaloosa, it really like you guys contained the Wildcat that pretty good.
Yeah, you know, last year, part of that last drive was fatigue. We played really good that night physically. We let some runs break out on us, and which screwed up the stats. But we kept him off the board and basically really played pretty doggone good. But we were dead tired at the end of that game, and that was part of it. We got pushed around a little bit, didn't make a couple of tackles. It wasn't the scheme of it so much. We didn't really change what we took into the game last year, but we worked it more this year, and I thought our kids functioned in it better. And obviously, again, it's time of possession and being off the field a little bit.
Coach, the mental makeup of this team, do you think it's going to be easy for these guys to get refocused Monday, or is there going to be a little extra?
I don't know. I'll coach them Monday the same way I did after the Auburn game, same way I did after the Furman game. The one thing I do hope we'll get from this game, you know, just think about it. So we come out in the second half, in the first play of the game, we snap the ball and give them a safety. So we kick off and give them the ball up at midfield, and I think that was we held them to a field goal.
Yeah.
Then we turn around and we bust the coverage later in the game and give them an easy 50-something yard touchdown. And it's like both of those things throw cold water on everything. But our offense comes right out after that and takes the ball down and puts 7 on them. So what we finally learned how to do around here, hopefully, we did it tonight, and we learned how to do it the rest of the time, is, you know, don't worry about those things. Move to the next play, move to the next series, and let's move on with it. You know, we turn the ball over in an interception in plus territory, and they end up with a fake field goal that doesn't work. Those are the kind of things that kids have got to do, is step up under pressure and keep people, you know, don't talk about stats. One thing I've always said is you got to make critical stops at critical times. And you got to also be able to move the ball at critical times. And the way we responded after the safety and the way our offense responded after that easy touchdown pass, both of those against a team like Alabama, our team could have folded and slipped off the edge, and we didn't do it.
Is this the first time you've beaten Alabama since you left Tuscaloosa after the 2000 season?
Oh no, we beat them back to back. Yeah, we went 16. We went what's 3 times 4? We went 12 quarters in a row. Those guys at Mississippi State never gave up a touchdown.
Wow.
On defense, and it was because our kids at Mississippi State refused to kiss that ring.
You got to do that today?
I don't know about that. we haven't done anything right now other than win a ball game. With, you know, there's a difference in a team and a program. We'll see.
Ellis, I'm doing things with Tommy Stroger. Tell me briefly how he's come along.
Thank you, sir.
He's really come a long way. The pluses on it, his commitment, his effort, his try as far as learning, practicing, and all that. You know, he still does some things in pass coverage that I want to improve. And I'm really proud of him because He struggled to get on the field last year. We played him in our 3-3 stack a little bit, had him a special package he could play. But right now, he and Quinn are neck and neck, but he's just a little bit more consistent than Quinn, a little older. And he's making good plays and playing hard for us, and I'm really proud of him.
No, I'm very